Privacidade hoje é uma das grandes preocupações no mundo inteiro. A gente está, mesmo sem querer, cada vez mais participando de uma espécie de Big Brother em que os nossos dados pessoais são utilizados tanto por empresas quanto por governos para coisas que a gente nem sequer imagina. Como informar as pessoas sobre o que está acontecendo com os dados que são coletados dela e também criar sistemas tecnológicos que permitam às pessoas dizerem que elas não querem ter os seus dados monitorados, seja por empresas ou seja por governos. Como as nossas vidas acabam sendo um verdadeiro Wikileaks de dados privados. Um dos maiores problemas de hoje na internet é a questão da privacidade. Sem a gente saber, muitas vezes a gente está tendo os nossos dados pessoais coletados, tanto por empresas como até mesmo por governos no mundo todo. O direito à privacidade é previsto na Constituição da maioria dos países. Só que a gente está entrando num momento de transparência radical. Muitas vezes a gente voluntariamente coloca fotos e informações pessoais na rede e muitas vezes a gente nem se preocupa com isso. Hoje, a questão da privacidade é uma questão global. O que está acontecendo é que governos querem cada vez mais ampliar os seus poderes de controle da rede e, sobretudo, de vigilância em cima dos usuários da internet.
There is an enormous ability for surveillance online of the form of a company just tracking your consumer behavior to governments and really surveilling people. The politics is one that I describe of a cat and a mouse, in a sense.
And every time technologists come up with a way to defend against one kind of tracking, the advertising networks discover and invent new, better, more sophisticated and hidden ways of figuring out who you are.
The world is being changed in such a way that power is being concentrated in giant computer servers that act like huge spy agencies gathering data about people. Genuine openness would be that we'd all have equal access entirely to the inside of the Orchid computers, the Google computers, the Facebook computers, the Twitter computers. So what's called openness is not really openness, and of course I reject that.
Tem pensadores hoje, como Andrew King, que acham que a questão da privacidade se tornou central. Ele está dedicando um novo livro dele à questão das redes sociais e de como as nossas vidas acabam sendo um verdadeiro Wikileaks de dados privados.
The book is, like my first book, isn't addressed for a hardcore web audience. It's addressed to a broader audience, to people who understand what LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook are and are worried or at least a little bit concerned about the impact of these services and technologies on their lives and perhaps more importantly on the lives of their children.
O Andrew diz que hoje em dia a gente está colocando dados nas redes sociais sem saber muito bem como é que eles vão ser usados depois e que a gente pode acabar sendo explorados a partir desses dados que são colocados por lá.
Companies like Twitter and Facebook and Zynga and Groupon, all these new social companies are transforming the very nature not only of internet identity, but internet commerce, internet gaming, internet e-commerce, and increasingly the casualty of the social web's privacy. We're forgetting the value of the private, of secrecy. And I fear that the cult of transparency and openness is impoverishing life in the 21st century.
A EFF, ela foi criada em 1990 por pessoas como John Perry Barlow, que era integrante da banda Grateful Dead, que já previu que a rede poderia colocar em risco direitos tão importantes como a questão da privacidade e da liberdade de expressão. Ela, por exemplo, foi fundamental na defesa das pessoas que foram processadas pelas gravadoras por baixarem música da rede.
I think people are aware that whenever they have their data collected by a government or by a third party, they can actually be spied or that have their data used against them.
In many cases, convenience often trumps safety for people. I mean, I think that people see a lot of the the tools that are made available by companies nowadays as a convenience, and so they don't really consider necessarily the ramifications of sharing personal information with big companies. There have been a lot of concerns in the past couple of years. For example, governments demanding data from Twitter. In the case of WikiLeaks, for example, you also have cases, the Chinese government demanding emails from Yahoo Mail. People are not always aware of what kind of information they make available on these sites and who can possibly see it. And so I think that we need to be more cautious about what we're sharing.
Privacy on the internet definitely worries me because there's definitely a lot of more predators and people being able to see your information.
Well, they can probably track my computer, but I don't think they can track me as a person.
Certain ads that come up on New York Times or on Facebook or whatever ads, whatever websites I go to, they tend to be placed where I online shop or something. Some people might go too far with it. Maybe the New York Times goes too far, I don't know, but it is what it is. You can't complain about it.
I just got an email from College Board, which does the SATs, and they said, we've been breached. We gave your information to a lot of people, and we're like, we apologize sincerely. I try to keep myself safe, but I'm not responsible for what third parties can do for me.
Privacidade hoje é uma das grandes preocupações no mundo inteiro. A gente está, mesmo sem querer, cada vez mais participando de uma espécie de Big Brother em que os nossos dados pessoais são utilizados tanto por empresas quanto por governos para coisas que a gente nem sequer imagina. Um dos maiores problemas de hoje na internet é a questão da privacidade. Sem a gente saber, muitas vezes a gente está tendo os nossos dados pessoais coletados, tanto por empresas como até mesmo por governos no mundo todo. O direito à privacidade é previsto na Constituição da maioria dos países. Só que a gente está entrando num momento de transparência radical. Muitas vezes a gente voluntariamente coloca fotos e informações pessoais na rede e muitas vezes a gente nem se preocupa com isso. Hoje em dia, a gente vive num momento em que as redes sociais estão dominando o mundo. E é interessante porque sites como o Facebook acabam coletando um monte de dados sobre as pessoas, tanto dados que nós mesmos revelamos, quanto outros dados que são coletados nas visitas pela rede. Muita gente nem se preocupa com isso, mas um grupo de jovens de Nova York resolveu criar uma nova rede social justamente com a ideia de servir um pouco de contraponto ao Facebook, dando ao usuário controle absoluto dos dados que ele posta na rede e, sobretudo, garantindo os direitos de privacidade ao utilizar esse projeto chamado Diaspora.
What is the difference between, for instance, the structure and architecture of Facebook and the architecture of Diaspora?
Diaspora is open source software, so the idea is you can host your identity anywhere you trust. If you don't like us, you can move all of your stuff to somewhere else. No matter where you choose to put all of your data, you can still contribute in all the conversations that are happening everywhere. That just gives more power to people. People don't really have that much choice. For people making cool new social products, they have to sort of integrate with Facebook. It's like this given, and that means that the entire internet is now limited by the capabilities of one website, which is kind of very much anti the idea of the internet, that it's a big decentralized network in itself.
You guys are very young. You're doing a great entrepreneurial thing, like launching this website and so on. Did you guys get funding? Was it easy, difficult? How did it work?
We started, Rafi was 19 and I was 23, and he's the youngest, I'm the oldest. Obviously we had the Kickstarter funding. We really wanted to make sure we found someone going forward that, shared our vision. Because as much as it's an entrepreneurial thing, it's also a vision for a better internet. So we need to make sure that we keep those two things parallel and make sure our goals are about doing good for everybody.
A privacidade não é um problema só legal, ela é também um problema tecnológico. Nesse sentido, cientistas da computação como Harlan Yu, da Universidade de Princeton, têm trabalhado cada vez mais em como informar as pessoas sobre o que está acontecendo com os dados que são coletados dela e também em criar sistemas tecnológicos que permitam às pessoas dizerem que elas não querem ter os seus dados monitorados, seja por empresas ou seja por governos.
A lot of times when people browse the web, they do lots of very personal activities. Over time, by looking at a lot of your web browsing activity, it can actually really narrow down a good picture of who the person is. Let's say you're, browsing the web about heart disease, and eventually your insurance company finds out that you were searching about heart disease, whether or not you have heart disease, maybe you were just interested for a friend or somebody else, they might potentially raise your insurance rates because they think you're at higher risk. Also, employers or landlords might be able to eventually get this information because this information could be sold eventually to data mining companies. Do Not Track would give consumers an easy-to-use control in their web browser that would allow them to stop this kind of behind-the-scenes tracking. Consumers will need to be a little bit more careful about the things that they share about themselves online. They should assume that anything they put online will eventually become public to the world, and it'll be a lot more difficult to have some information only be shared to certain people. So while I might want to share some fun photos with my friends, eventually it might be possible for my parents or my employer to see those same photos.
I do think that people overexpose themselves on the internet. I don't post any pictures or videos of myself on purpose.
If it's an inappropriate photo, of course, I can go and untag it, and that's the good thing about it, that you have the possibility to untag yourself.
I don't do MySpace, I don't do Twitter, I just keep it to Facebook. So that definitely helps.
A lot of people are like ignorant about it because they're like, oh, the internet, I'll go on, I'll put my photos on Facebook of me drunk at a party, and then the college that I apply to will look at them and be like, hey, we don't want this kid.
Privacidade hoje é uma das grandes preocupações no mundo inteiro. A gente está, mesmo sem querer, cada vez mais participando de uma espécie de Big Brother em que os nossos dados pessoais são utilizados tanto por empresas quanto por governos para coisas que a gente nem sequer imagina.
Usually your cell phone provider will know who you are. A lot of the apps on your phone will also communicate to them where you are over time. Maybe you could allow the government to potentially get access to that information too because it's collected.
People's definition of privacy is very, very different depending on who you talk to. Some people are, I'm a Chinese dissident and I can't let the Chinese government find out about me. But that's very different to being like I'm a 17-year-old and I don't really want to see my mom to see my pictures of me drinking on the weekends.
You should say, we will have an internet where people own their own data and have the right to do with their data what they want, including selling it, keeping it, whatever. It's the only structure that makes it about the people instead of the technology. And then people can decide for themselves what they want, and gradually the thing can evolve. That's the way to create a system that can find a balance.